Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist and I own 52 units of real estate. So I had a great question from one of my students in the mentorship program asking about an apartment complex that they found in Memphis, Tennessee, and kind of want to get my opinion on the property. So the student, for context, had boots in the ground in Memphis, Tennessee, which means that they had a property manager, a contractor, or some sort of team member in that area that could serve to be your eyes and ears because they know the local market. Obviously, we're based remotely in California, and we're investing in more cost-effective, more cash flow markets. So this deal is brought to him by a broker, and my joke is brokers always make you more broke, right? Ironically, I say that, yet I want to become a real estate broker because I think the bar is just so low. But in any case, a deal was brought to my student, and he sent me over the deal, and I took a quick look at it. So first of all, said it was a C+ market. For me, out the gate, that was a huge red flag because I researched Memphis, Tennessee, actually, or just Tennessee in general, as a market I wanted to invest in before settling down in Oklahoma. I looked at Tennessee, I looked at Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Oklahoma, Arkansas. So I looked in multiple markets before I figured out my own, and why I chose Oklahoma was because I just had a strong property manager there. Very easy, very simple, nothing fancy. Any case, so I said out the gate, all right, what I teach my students in my courses, we use a website called city-data.org or city-data.com, and you can type in the city name. So you can type in Memphis, Tennessee, and what's nice about it is this shows a lot of nice demographics at a high level of the city. So it can show you, is there population growth over the past 10 years? Ideally, you want population growth. Is there a diverse job market? You don't want to be dependent on one job market. Like, for example, if you were to buy an apartment near an Air Force base and the Air Force base goes away, then you're going to lose a lot of your tenants. So it's nice when the Air Force base is there, but when it's gone, now you're stuck because there's no other jobs. Another thing I look at is there obviously job growth? So, population growth, job growth goes hand in hand. And the last thing I look at, obviously is the crime data. So they have city-data.org has a crime statistic. And typically I want to see that 400 or less. And Memphis, Tennessee, if you look at the past 10 years, it's always been over 1,000. And that's very high. So what does that tell you? It tells you that it's a rougher demographic. It's a rougher tenant base. You're not going to get high quality tenants. So the returns on these apartments look sexy, high value add, a lot of rent upside. But the reality is you're going to be dealing with a tough tenant base. It's a D-class area, a lot of crime. So you're dealing with drugs, you're dealing with gangs, you're going to be dealing with evictions, people squatting. No amount of money can fix a bad location. And I speak from this from experience because I owned a mobile home park in Selma, Alabama, which had a very similar crime score. I think in Selma, Alabama, the crime score was about 1,200 versus Memphis, Tennessee is 1,000, right? So, it's higher, but still high. And to manage, to make those properties successful, it requires a certain type of investor, right? You have to be, kind of strict, and you have to deal with stress because you're constantly evicting people. Maybe there's a shooting at your property. I went through all this, right? My mobile home park went through all this. I had a robbing, I had a shooting, there was a stabbing, there was a fire. Just a lot of weird things that happen in these areas. So, out the gate, I just said the broker performance says it's a C+ neighborhood, and this is your boots on the ground. Then those boots on the ground aren't that good because for me, I know there's nice pockets of Memphis, Tennessee, but it's hard. It's hard. You really have to know, and it requires a certain property manager. The property manager, these are the type of tenants where you have to bang on their door to get them to pay rent. We had to do that for my mobile home park, and that's what made it fail was because I needed a property manager who can knock on doors and ask for rent every single day or every other day, and my property manager didn't have that personality. So of course, the tenants knew that yes, they would knock on the door, but they just would ignore it and then not pay their rent. And if it's hard to evict the tenants like it was during COVID, then you're stuck. So Number one, I would say investing in this type of area requires you to have a certain personality. It requires your property manager to have a certain personality, and you have to be okay with dealing with these, D-class tenants, right? Where, they'll give you excuses. It's harder to deal with. So for me, I don't want to deal with that, right? Like I want the lowest I'll go is C-class because these are just, workforce housing. And then over time, you want to deal with B-class tenants, A-class tenants. So my single family homes are all A-class tenants, and my apartments are C-class tenants. And I do see the difference, right? You do see the difference in that. And a lot of investors start off in C-class and they move up to B-class and they move up to A-class because they want to deal with better and better tenants who pay on time, who make higher income and have better jobs. So it's a natural progression. And like I said, I was sold the dream of buying a D-class mobile home park with 10x upside. Like I thought I bought for $1 million. I thought it'd be worth $10 million when I'm done with it. And I poured in $600,000 in this property, and that wasn't even enough to fix the area. Like no amount of money can fix a bad area and a bad location and a bad tenant base. So, don't get me wrong, like there are nice pockets in Memphis, Tennessee where you can make money, but as an out-of-state investor, I think it's too risky. Like if you're there and you live in Memphis, Tennessee, and you know the pockets, by all means, you can do it successfully, right? But it's going to be more hands-on. If you're investing remotely in a higher crime area, you're dependent on your boots on the ground, and your boots on the ground is also the broker, right? And of course, they want to sell the deal. So, I just kind of called out, the two main things. Number one, crime's too high. Like this is not the tenant base that you want to deal with. You're going to end up losing money because you're going to have to evict tenants, more turns, they might trash your property. If it's in a bad area, it's not going to attract good tenants. There's no point in doing that. And then the other reason that I didn't like the deal was because it was 100% vacant. So 100% vacant properties. So what that tells me is the last owner, they probably bought the property and they had to evict all the tenants because the tenant base was terrible, right? And typically at that point, once you evict everyone, what you're going to do is you're going to renovate all the properties. So if it's like 20 units, you have 20 vacant units that you're going to renovate. And for me, I'm not a big fan of fully vacant properties because there's no cash flow, right? Like when I was renovating my 26 unit, even though I was let's say maybe 16 out of 26 were occupied because I was renovating like 10 units, I still got 16 tenants to pay me every month. Like with single family, if you're renovating it, you get no income. With multifamily, you could still have like half your tenants paying you and you're renovating the other half. That's the ideal because you want that cash flow coming in to cover your expenses. Maybe if you make positive cash flow, you can cover some of the renovation. So I'm not a huge fan of fully vacant properties. Obviously, it could work if you want to renovate faster because you don't have to turn your tenants. But for me, it's nice to you renovate 5 units at a time. Once 5 units are finished, you rent out 5 units, and then now you're going to move on to your next 5 units, right? If 5 more vacant units, then you will renovate those and rent those out. So for me, I like going in segments of 5. I don't like the whole thing being empty because I want cash flow. So, like I said, pros and cons. Like pros is you can just renovate all 20 real fast or as fast as you could. But the downside is you don't get cash flow. So you're eating that negative cash flow. And to even buy this property, if it's 100% empty, it's going to be a hard money loan. That's your only option, right? So literally the hard money lender told my student, oh, you might want to partner with me because I have experience. Because this is a fully vacant property getting zero income. So they want to make sure that you have a vetted operator. And I have experience as an operator, right? Because I've done, my 26 unit, my 20 unit with this hard money lender. So they're actually telling my student to partner with me on the deal so that they can leverage my experience and my skills to make this successful because I did it before, right? With my 20 unit, I brought it full cycle with this company. So those are 3 reasons why I didn't like the deal. Number one, it was fully vacant. It's hard to get a loan, right? No cash flow. Hard money loan, creative finance are your only options. Number 2 is this was already a deal breaker. It's a high crime area. I was presented a great deal in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I think it was a 50 unit apartment complex. They wanted $2.5 million, which was a reasonable price. The numbers panned out, the upside panned out in terms of rent. He was willing to do creative financing. I think I negotiate 10% down payment, and basically I'd put 5% up front, and then the other remaining 5% was spread out over the next 5 years. And I was I had amazing terms. But I called my property manager and said, hey, what do you think about this property? Can you do a quick drive-by? And immediately my property manager was like, that area is called Homicide Alley. And then I was just like, enough said. I don't need to hear anything else. I don't want the deal. So that's the problem with these D-class areas is the numbers look so sexy on the spreadsheet, right? And it can blind you to the fact that it's a bad area. So the golden rule of real estate, which I broke, location, location, location. Never break that, right? So there's a reason why. So for me, I'd rather buy a deal that has less upside but better tenant base, right? Speaking from personal experience on mobile home park. So, once I caught that out, my student immediately just moved on from the deal. And I would too, right? So this is the benefit of having, an impartial set of eyes looking at your deals so that you can help avoid these bad deals. And I've talked to operators, same thing. They bought an apartment in Memphis, Tennessee. Numbers looked good, upside looked good, and he got burned. Too stressful because you're knocking on doors. It's much more active, right? Versus imagine like C-class tenants, like half my tenants auto pay, half the tenants, pay by money order or money deposit, right? If you go to A-class, probably more than not are paying auto pay in terms of rent. So that's what you want to be in. So anyways, hopefully you found value from my conversation with my mentee, my student. Just wanted to share the key learning points. If you're interested in joining my mentorship program, check out the link down below. I'm working on something to have more of a community in the future on school. So look forward to that coming soon. Otherwise, let me know if you have any comments or questions and hope to see you in the next one. Please share this video with somebody and like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much.